Random House Voices presents The Mountain of the Women, Memoirs of an Irish Troubadour by Liam Clancy. Read for you now by Liam Clancy. Not far from my hometown in Ireland, there is a mountain called Slievenamon. It is shaped like a beautiful female breast, and on its summit sits a cairn of stones like a nipple. The name Slievenamon comes from the Gaelic Slievenamon, the mountain of the women. My blood tells me that my origins are there. Some say the mountain got its name from the profile it presents when seen from Carrick-on-Suir, the town in which I was born. A more intriguing story tells how the legendary giant Finn McCool would need a new wife each year, and because of his mighty demands, would put all the candidates vying for the job to a test. On a certain day of the year, they would all race to the top of Slievenamon and back. The winner, he considered, just might have the stamina to cope with his virility for the next year. Our town is in the valley of the River Suir, at the top of the tide that surges all the way up the estuary from the sea, 30 or so miles to the east. The wooded hills rise up from the river to the south to good farmland that stretches the 8 miles or so to the ice-carved Cumra Mountains. To the north, the land rises to a plain that reaches for the beautiful breast of Slievenamon and its foothills 4 miles away. The valley to the west is known as the Golden Vale, the land of milk and honey. It's a small wonder that wave after wave of invaders wanted to get their hands on this rich land. Just recently, archaeologists have started excavating local tumulus mounds, as old or perhaps older than Newgrange, which predates the pyramids of Egypt by some 2 centuries. 2 groups of burial monuments, called portal dolmens, attest to the fact that humans have settled in this place since the Stone Age. There's something fascinating and humbling, as the Carrick poet Michael Cody dwells on in his writing, about occupying spaces which others have vacated and which we in turn will vacate for the next generation. In the nature of things, the people of each generation assume, of course, that theirs is the only important one. In time, others will realize that they weren't the first ones here, and try, perhaps, to unearth some knowledge of us. On the south-facing slope of Slievenamon stand the ruins of a castle or great house of the 1700s, with the remnants of walled gardens and old outlying walls with gable shapes of long-gone buildings. These ruins speak to us as a well-known song about the place does, of the time when Kilcash, the great house, was full of life and industry, of plenty and hospitality. The song also tells of the great lady, or Divan as she was called in the Irish, who held sway over this revered and wondrous place. An áthúd na gcónaíoch an Divan, for Grodham as Mire Harmanó. What shall we do for the timber? The last of the woods is down. Kilcash and the house of its glory, and the bell of the house is gone. The spot where that lady waited who shamed all women for grace, when earls came sailing to greet her, and mass was said in the place. I learned that song at school as a boy in Carrick-on-Suir. Like all songs of past times, it was peopled with what I thought of as mythical figures. But one day I happened on a scene which brought the myth and the reality together before my very eyes. As my kids and I wandered about the ruins of Kilcash, a man who lived in one of the cottages nearby recognized me as one of the Clancys. "You're one of the singers, aren't you?" Liam, is it? I knew your father Bob from the insurance business. He used to call you by the English version of your name, Willie. Well, now this is good. Do you see the old church down there below the castle? That's been there since the 7th century, and inside that church there's a headstone with your name on it, William Clancy. The Board of Works are trying to save what's left of the early church, and the big stones are pulled back from the underground vault. There was a hint of awe in his voice. They've cleared away decades of debris. If you go down the steps and let your eyes get used to the dark, you'll see herself stretched out there on Divan, the great lady, Lady Iva, with 2 other skeletons. Her husband, a Richard Butler, I believe he was, and the bishop of the time, whose name I can't recall. Their lead coffins were taken by the IRA to make bullets during the Black and Tan War. When the 3 kids and I went down into the chamber of the dead, sure enough, there on the rubble of the vault floor were the bones, red and mouldering, of the woman I used to sing about in school. The kids and I gazed a long moment in fascination before beating a retreat back up to daylight. As with many ruined churches in Ireland, the graves of what I suppose to be the important people are inside the church walls, while the lesser folk have to lie outside in the adjoining graveyard. As we made our way to the main part of the church, an old man, wandering from headstone to toppling headstone, said, "Oh, there's class distinction everywhere, even in the graveyard." Searching through the gravestones within the ruined walls, trying to decipher the weather-beaten names, I came upon the one my friend had referred to. Since it was made from hard slate and leaning away from the worst of the weather, it was easy to make out the names. Among them was one that read, William Clancy, died May 11th, 1735. He had died 200 years and nearly 4 months before I was born. I don't believe in reincarnation, at least not like that, but it did make me stop for a moment and wonder. Who was he then, I thought, this namesake of mine? Possibly a Brehon lawyer or bard attached to the big house. The Clancys were reputed to be Brehon lawyers or bards since medieval times. Lady Iva may have been William Clancy's patroness. In my own case, it was a wealthy American lady who took me under her patronage and started my career off in the New World. I wanted to know more about the man. Was he a relative? What was life like in his day? I wished he could tell his story, but the grave is a silent place. The words of the Greek poet Nikos Kazantzakis came to mind. He said, "When a man dies, that aspect of the universe which is his own particular vision and the unique play of his mind also crashes in ruins forever." I hear a challenge in that. So I take up the challenge and tell my story for what it's worth. Now in my 60s, I live in a house full of joyous activity, a house I'd always dreamed of building in my boyhood, full of family and friends and people I love. But as I start my story, I lie in a hospital bed because my 60th birthday party was full of song and food and music and drink. At some point in the night, I later learned it was 4 o'clock in the morning, I saw somebody dive into the swimming pool outside, and since it was my birthday, I dressed appropriately in my birthday suit and declaimed, "Do not..."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?